When AI makes office work obsolete, the economy changes overnight. One morning, a company can wake up and realize that 80% of its routine tasks no longer need people, because AI agents can produce, negotiate, schedule, summarize, and report faster than the entire department that used to do it by hand. The terrifying part is not that machines can help. This is not a fantasy about robots taking factories. This is a pressure test for white-collar capitalism where the real shock is not only job loss, but the collapse of the logic behind offices, promotions, salaries, outsourcing, and even national productivity rankings. And if you want more scenarios like this, keep watching closely because the next few minutes are where the real pressure points appear, not the headlines. The first jobs to disappear are not always the glamorous ones. They are the repetitive, text-heavy, easy-to-measure jobs that keep companies moving behind the scenes. Administrative coordination, basic reporting, customer support, internal research, document drafting, data cleaning, scheduling, and endless status updates are exactly the kind of tasks AI agents can absorb first. That matters because these are not tiny side functions. They are the glue of modern office life. That is why the middle of the company becomes the first battlefield. Not the top executives who still make the big strategic calls. Not the bottom floor where some physical tasks still resist full automation. The middle layer is where AI agents create the biggest shock. A firm that once needed 500 employees may suddenly function with 50 humans supervising automated systems, checking exceptions, and approving the few decisions that still need accountability. If this already sounds bigger than a normal tech shift, that is because it is. Keep going because the real winners are not just individual companies, but the countries that own the infrastructure underneath them. That brings us to the global layer where the consequences get much more serious. Countries that built an advantage on outsourced office work, call centers, back-office services, and low-cost knowledge labor would face a sudden shock. If AI can perform a large share of that work without crossing borders, then the old model breaks. Cheap labor becomes less strategic when the task itself can be exported to software. Now look at wages, education, and the middle class, because this is where people will feel the change most personally. Entry-level white-collar salaries compress first. Why? Because AI can now do many of the tasks that used to justify hiring juniors in the first place. If a company can get instant drafts, instant summaries, instant research, and instant first-pass analysis from software, the value of a generic starting role falls fast. At this point, the question is no longer whether AI changes work. The real question is who gets to stay valuable when it does. If you want these scenarios broken down clearly, subscribe and stay with the channel because the next section is where the political backlash starts to show. Once the replacement becomes visible at scale, governments cannot ignore it. They face pressure to tax automation, restrict AI deployment in certain sectors, fund retraining, or create safety nets for workers whose jobs disappear faster than new roles appear. But every option has trade-offs. Tax automation too heavily and you slow innovation. Regulate too aggressively and domestic firms fall behind foreign competitors. And this is where the geopolitical consequences become impossible to ignore. In a world where productivity depends less on labor size and more on AI infrastructure, the map of power changes. Countries that can build data centers, secure energy, manufacture chips, and deploy models at scale begin to outrun countries that still depend on human-intensive service sectors. That does not just affect profits. So if AI agents start producing, negotiating, and managing faster than traditional teams, the first thing that dies is not the office building. It is the old belief that human headcount is the main measure of economic strength. Offices become smaller, hiring becomes stricter, promotions become harder to justify, education becomes more conditional, and national power starts to flow toward whoever controls the infrastructure behind the intelligence. If you want more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, follow it, like this video, and leave a comment telling me what future scenario you want to see next. And if this one hit close to home, share it with someone who still thinks AI only matters for chatbots. Because the most important changes rarely arrive looking dramatic, they arrive looking efficient, and that is exactly what makes them dangerous, powerful, and impossible to ignore.